Okay, YouTube is live. Facebook is still thinking about it. There we go. Now we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Bullet. It is Thursday, the 25th of February, 2021. I'm Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, Tom Knighton. Tom writes for the Washington Free Beacon. He writes for Bearing Arms. You can see his stuff a lot of places. Tom, thanks for joining us on the show today, man.
Oh, glad to be here.
So I'm going to get social media hooked up here. I want to remind everybody while I'm doing that you can comment on the live video, and we will, if your comment is, that's not it. I don't want that one. I want over here. If your comment is relevant to what we're talking about, we will get your comment up. We'll talk about it on the air. So let's get started. The first story that really hit my attention today, Tom, Iowa looks like it's getting its own version of the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. They introduced that yesterday in the Iowa legislature. And from everything I've seen in the Iowa legislature this year, that one looks like it's got legs.
Yeah, and I think it's a really promising development overall because, one of the things that Biden said he wanted to do when he took office was repeal the Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. He's got a Congress that's been clamoring to repeal it as it is. And, so it looks like the days may be numbered. So if pro-gun states were to follow Iowa's lead on this and also introduce and pass similar legislation, it wouldn't completely shield gun companies from frivolous lawsuits, but it'll help. It'd be a big help.
It would. And let's look at it this way. If Iowa and some other states pass these laws, it's going to be if I have a gun manufacturing company and I could locate in New York where they're wanting me to be hung by the nearest tree by a very short rope, or I go to Iowa where they're going to be protecting me and not, as you say, they can't protect you from everything, but they're going to be doing their best to engender a good environment for me. Guess where I'm going?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, that's something that's always kind of floored me is how many gun companies are still located in New York, New England, California, places like that, where the last thing in the world that their neighbors want is them around.
Right.
When there's the Midwest, there's the Deep South, that are like, come, bring those jobs. We will welcome you gladly.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Connecticut, a great example. Connecticut has a lot of companies, the manufacturer still there. Heck, the people behind SHOT Show, I'm having a brain fart.
NSSF.
Yeah, NSSF is still there. Now, they don't manufacture anything, but they're still there. There's something to be said about being in the belly of the beast, but I'd be thinking maybe move to freedom as well.
Absolutely. If they want to stay in New England, New Hampshire's got a pretty good pro-gun reputation. Mm-hmm. At the very least, at least consider New Hampshire.
Right.
It's just down the road a bit. We're not even talking about moving to Nebraska. We're not talking about moving to Texas. It's New Hampshire. It's right there. Granted, it's tiny, but there's enough room for everybody.
Well, and there's enough of a population base there for any employment you may need. And let's face it, anywhere you go in the United States, I'm not kidding. You're going to find colleges. You're going to find educated people. people are people throughout the United States. There are some states where, I mean, there are neighborhoods where you're going to find people that congregate that are less educated, maybe a little heavy into the recreational vegetation, but that's in every state too.
Yeah, every state. I mean, you take one of the more straight-laced states. Take Utah. Utah's known for Mormonism. It's really people think of it as a kind of an uptight state. They got people doing that stuff in Utah. They've got gangs in Salt Lake City.
Sure, they do.
They got people who are really wanting to see some recreational marijuana, so they don't have to hide it from the cops anymore. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you've got that stuff anywhere you go, and it's like, you want to look at gun rights. Even there's gun rights organizations in the most anti-gun states. Like, I think you're wearing a Cal Guns shirt right now.
Yep. Well,
thought I saw that.
Yeah, this is Cal Guns Foundation, exactly.
Right. I mean, it's California.
Yeah.
But there's a large group there that are trying to defend the Second Amendment. So anywhere that these wanted to go, they could find the educated engineers they would need. Mm-hmm. And frankly, a lot of people would travel for that job. It's like, wait. I love shooting. I'm a mechanical engineer, or I'm a whatever kind of engineer you need to be. And Remington, just to Georgia, and they're hiring engineers. Please. They won't blink about moving for that. So there's really no reason for these companies to stay there. And statewide, in 20 states, which isn't unreasonable. It's really not unreasonable to expect that at least that many. And, that would be a good signal to these companies, hey, we value you. Mm-hmm. And like Magpul left Colorado after the magazine passed there, saying, look, we're making a product in your state and we can't even sell it to our people who live across the street from the factory. They bolted.
Yep.
A lot of these companies really should consider doing the same thing. If they're a big enough employer, it's going to hurt the state a lot more than, saying, please don't do that.
Yeah. Get a couple social media comments in there. We got some really good ones in here. Lee says, I'm shocked Smith & Wesson hasn't moved from Springfield, Massachusetts. Talking about an unfriendly state. New Hampshire has plenty of room, and several other firearm manufacturers are here.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Springfield, Massachusetts is a great example of a place you really shouldn't want to be if you're a gun manufacturer.
Where do we go? Because these are happening so fast when I select them, sometimes they pop underneath my mouse. Where the Frank says, where gun companies are located in New York is Republican country. Neighbors don't mind if they're there. Yeah, well,
that's fair.
That is true, but Albany still controls the state, and New York City controls Albany.
And that's the problem you get with anywhere like that.
Yeah. I was born and raised in Connecticut. It was an terrible state for business and Second Amendment. Thank God I moved south. And Kevin Sona, hey, Kevin. Kevin says, I believe Carr moved. So, let's see.
I'm trying to say I think I recall that, but I can't keep up with everybody.
Yeah, no kidding.
I wish I could.
Absolutely.
But Carr's kind of an interesting company anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole can of worms that we don't have the time to get into because we would be.
We would need a 2-hour special.
Exactly. It's kind of like talking about the mess with the NRA. That's got to be its own special show. Let's
tonight on a very special Daily Bullet.
No, Timmy doesn't come home smelling like tobacco. We got one other story we're going to comment about and talk about a little bit. And that is Cam Edwards wrote an article over on Bearing Arms. And apparently there are people that want to not just have smart guns, They want to have artificial intelligence in these guns where the gun decides if it's going to fire or not. That, to me, man, I'm just not pulling any punches. That sounds hugely stupid with the state of AI right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure artificial intelligence wrote the paper that suggested this because real intelligence clearly wasn't involved. Okay?
Yeah.
It's idea. It's one of those things that's concocted by academics and experts who have never really studied violence because they don't understand all the scenarios in which an armed response is warranted. I mean, I just look at the comments when there's an officer-involved shooting. I remember one here locally where people were just upset that the police shot this guy. You didn't have to kill him. You could have shot him in the arm, you know. And people really believe that, not understanding that, first of all, that doesn't end a threat. You know, it's a lot harder to shoot people in the arm than it looks like on television. You know, it's just ridiculous kind of stuff. And it's the same kind of thinking. People who don't understand what they're even talking about. And the idea that an AI can determine something better than I can with their field of vision, a lot of, you know, depending on the individual, how much training I may have to determine a situation, how much wargaming of this I've done with other shooters. This is something I've used to do with a lot of my friends, was we would throw out scenarios and say, how would you react? And it wasn't bravado, it was exercise. It was training the mind to learn how to evaluate it, and then we would critique each person's plan because that's how you learn better. And, you know, you're telling me that some person who knows nothing about any of this is going to write a code that's going to determine when I can shoot, when I can't? Well, what about that 98-pound woman who's looking at her 300-pound former NFL linebacker husband who is beaten her to death? He's unarmed, so the AI says, oh, no, you can't fire. Then she's killed for it. You know, these kind of things are not, you know, the specifics I'm making up, but the scenario is, it happens.
You're in the Walmart parking lot, and you're putting your stuff in your car, and a guy reaches into his jacket as he's walking towards you. The AI isn't going to see a weapon. The AI will not let that gun fire as that man is running towards you and starting to pull the hand out of the jacket. Is it a gun? Is it a knife? If it's inside 20 feet, it doesn't matter. You're just as dead.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, you know, that's another one of those examples. People who would code these do not have the basis to even begin to understand. And, you know, really, let's understand this. They call this artificial intelligence. It's not. It's a computer program.
Yes.
Right. What people think of as artificial intelligence is a reasoning program that can think for itself. This isn't it. We're not even close to that technologically. We're not even remotely close to that. I know I'm fascinated with AI, fiction fan, and we're nowhere near that level for AI. What they're talking about as AI is really just a decision tree. Well, who codes that? You know, it's one thing if it's coded by, you know, an ex-special forces, police SWAT officer, someone who has, you know, a huge amount of experience in use of force, you know, even, you know, a good use of force attorney. You know, I trust one written by Mossad Ayub more than, say, one written by Shannon Watts.
Yeah.
Obviously. You know, because... And who, you know, whose AI do you? Who codes AI? Even if we could trust the AI to do right, it's still also a technological item. Firearm designs, you know, the firearms you and I carry on a regular basis is a century-old, proven, basically century-old design. There's been very little refinement in the last 100 years, except in material sciences. You get the prototype 1911 and you put it next to a Glock. Functionally, they're not all that different in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you can trust them. You can trust the design because it went through the birthing pains. It's refined. We can trust them by and large. You're wanting me to like trust, you know, you're wanting me to computer now? Mm-mm.
We're getting all kinds of great comments. Joshua says, AI guns reminds me a bit of the Terminator movies. DJ Plainice, AIs call and talk to me occasionally. It's freaky, but it's the new norm. And he also says, I feel sorry for folks who talk to them without knowing it's a bit. Yeah. The one I hate is when the telemarketers call and they've got a pre-recorded greeting. As soon as you say hello, the pre-recorded greeting cranks off. And if you don't know it's pre-recorded and you start answering, then then the real person comes on and it's obvious they have no clue what just happened. Anyway. Gun website says, Pete says, Judge Dredd's gun has got to start somewhere. IMO, remove the laws and requirements, let them develop any guns they want. Seems like we are working against ourselves when we fight against guns for them. That's not, Pete, that's not what I'm going against. What I'm going against is they're going to mandate these guns, not for them, for us. And they won't have to use them.
Yeah, it won't take long before, if this technology starts coming online, law enforcement's not going to be the ones using it. They're going to argue, well, we have sufficient training, and we don't need these. These will cause all these problems. The military's not going to use them. They're going to saddle us with it. And if it was an option, for people who are concerned, okay, whatever. My opposition to smart guns was never about developing smart gun technology. It was about the fact that New Jersey wanted to mandate it. Right. As soon as a viable model came on the market, New Jersey said, that's all you can buy. And New Jersey's not a big enough market to make that attractive to anybody.
Well, and the one that came out, I'm sure you've seen the YouTube video that, you could defeat it with a couple of magnets. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're so freaking expensive, yeah.
We've got people who hack cell phones. They crack the copyright on their iPhone so they can run whatever. They're people who just like to screw around with this kind of stuff because it's fun to them. They're not stealing. They won't be the guys who steal guns and crack the biometrics so they can use them illegally. But someone's going to figure it out because it's a challenge for them. Mm-hmm. And it take long because this technology is not mature. It's probably never going to be mature. At least not in our lifetimes. It's really nobody's really having the people who have interest in pursuing this are not your actual gun companies. It's companies that start up just to make smart guns, and they focus so much on the smart technology, their guns usually crap. And they don't even really know that much about the technology either. It's like you said, it's easily defeated.
More social media comments. We're supposed to trust their programming like we trusted the voting machines in this past election.
Yeah.
David Wilcox.
Remember, it's not who votes. I was going to say, it doesn't matter who counts the votes. That matters.
Yeah. David, and I can feel David's tongue firmly planted in his cheek. It'll be fine. AI guns will be extensively tested, used by Secret Service and FBI before being used by civilians.
Exactly. We can always trust that that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
Pete like again. How they're,
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was kind of like how they always, never seem to want to start gun control with the FBI or the Secret Service's guns.
Right.
It's funny if guns are so bad.
Yeah. New gun tech is good. Remove the laws, and it's not dangerous to our rights. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, there is a very slim market for a smart gun. There's a portion of the population that would buy that. More power to them. If it's out there, great. Just don't mandate it.
Right. I mean, I've got a young daughter. I would actually consider a smart gun as a nightstand gun. You know, if the technology is available, I'd consider it, just because then if she picks up the gun, she's less likely to hurt herself with it. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to lock it up every time I walk out of the room. Mm-hmm. You know, so I mean, there's legitimate market for it, and I haven't fault anybody for pursuing it now, because New Jersey's changed their law on smart guns, because it was pretty clear that, you know, people were not pursuing the technology because of their law. They backed off a little bit, where now gun stores will just have to have a smart gun model when it comes out, but they can sell other guns. The AI, you know, there's people who feel more comfortable with that. You know, the idea that, I mean, I think every gun owner kind of has this little fear of, what if I make the mistake? What if the guy that's running towards me with his hand in his pocket is really trying to hand me my wallet that he saw me drop in the store? Now, realistically, likely, but that fear does play on some people. Yeah. And if they feel better with this kind of technology, okay, sure. The problem is, like you said, I don't trust that it would stay optional. That someone would want to roll this out, make it mandatory, put it on every firearm in America, and claim this will stop mass shootings, this will stop everything. And it won't.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't even stop. You can't even stop people from getting into my bank account. How are you going to stop people from cracking into guns and using them like that?
Well, and there was a comment.
Really?
We're getting so many comments, I cannot get them all up, but there was a comment that went by a little bit ago. You can hack into cars right now and control the car from out while it's moving from outside the vehicle. You know, what if they were to be able to, and I don't know that this would seem counterintuitive, but what if they were to be able to program the gun to fire, whether or not there's a finger on the trigger?
You know, and yeah, it's how far does this go? You know, how's this without? Right now, it's all theoretical. Nobody's trying to develop a model yet. This is just from a paper. But, you know, as soon as someone just says, okay, that's an idea, I'm going to start trying to code this, there's going to be questions, and they've got to be addressed. And like about anything can be hacked. I mean, they make wireless marital aids, and people have hacked those.
Okay.
I'm like, if you're going to do that, if people are going to go to the trouble to hack something like that, do you think they're not going to hack a gun?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, it's insane that people think this is a good idea. Like that, yeah, this is actually being talked about from a mandatory standpoint, not let's develop this as an option.
DJ Play Nice. DJ, good to see you, man. Skynet. There you go. Things. Yeah, we're talking.
Remember how that worked out?
We're sci-fi fans, right? Or what was the old Stephen King novel became a movie, Maximum Overdrive, where you know, the machines became self-aware? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's, you know, the last thing I want to do is get like paranoid about something, but on the same token, science fiction has taught us much about the dangers of AI.
Okay, I shouldn't, but I'm going to put this up, and then we're probably going to change topics because I'm going to leave that up there and let everybody make their own decisions. I'm not even going to read it. Kevin, bad boy.
Well played, Kevin. Well played.
All right. Let me move over to another. Let me move over to another subject we got going on here. I'm going to bring this up on the screen. Tom, you want to tell everybody what they are looking at?
Okay, that is a horde of firearms, and of course I use the term horde kind of loosely, but it was found in someone's yard in Phoenix, Arizona. They were digging in the yard, and, you know, instead of like cutting their cable like I've done before, or, you know, hitting a water pipe or anything like that, they found guns. That picture was actually from the Phoenix Phoenix Police Department. It's, clearly there's some rust on the weapons. They've been down there for a while, but yeah, someone found some goodies. I never find anything like that in my yard.
No. And looking at it, let me go ahead and bring my mouse over so it actually, obviously we've got an AR type rifle up on top here, and then on the bottom, you pointed out that looks like an AK pistol down there, and then a couple Mac 10s, some various magazines. None of this all looks like stuff that was made certainly post the sunsetting of the Clinton era assault weapons ban. So it's 20 years old or newer.
Yeah, and that AR looks like a short barrel. That looks like an SVR.
Yeah, it does.
That looks like a short barrel, which means either this is registered somehow with the ATF or it's illegal. I'm leaning towards illegal because most people don't bury gun tags in their backyard.
Yeah, no. And they would certainly do some protection of weathering. Something that, let's face it, that requires a tax stamp and real registration. And yes. So I would think they'd take a little bit better care of that stuff than that. But there's got to be a story there. Was it someone, a crook decided they needed to dump some incriminating evidence and found an abandoned house and dug it? Dug a hole and stashed it there. Was it a previous homeowner who was worried about gun confiscation and decided, didn't really know what he was doing, but decided to hide guns anyways? It's just so many options. There's so many stories that are possible with that. It's a fascinating little bit. Yeah. We've got social media. I knew this would happen almost instantly as soon as I got those pictures up. Gun website says Uzi pistol, Mac, Galil AR. Vern said, did not use enough desiccant.
And you'd think in Phoenix it wouldn't be that much of an issue.
Right. Well, they do get some rain, but yeah.
You'd think enough they wouldn't need much.
Gun websites, it all looks a few years old. And Big John 410, love this one. If they were on a table, I'd guess it would be the last Philly gun buyback.
Yeah, probably. Because that's what, if I found it in one of the places there was a gun buyback, I'd be like, okay, make a little cash. Here you go.
There you go.
Considering some of the stuff I've seen people sell at buybacks, like dude strapped a pipe to a 2x4, got like $200 because it was considered a rifle.
Yeah.
And he did that apparently he did a couple of those. I'm probably wrong about the dollar amount, but he did those and used that to buy a real gun.
Pete says there are traditional stories of gun elves that bury guns in our backyards in Arizona. Nothing we can do about it. It's just the way we live here. I'm going to tell you.
Excuse me, I need to go back.
Yeah, I need to go to Arizona. I've got some friends there. I'm just going to, when I go down there, I'm going to bring a metal detector with me, and I'm going to go through their yards.
Yeah, I'm going to move there, and just part of my daily routine is going over with metal detectors.
Yeah.
Yeah, check my neighbor's house, and because they don't want those evil guns. I am actually a one-man buyback, for the record.
Exactly. Anybody, if you've got a firearm you think you need to get rid of to put into a place, and I've done this. I have a friend that inherited some guns, didn't want them, and wasn't necessarily ready to turn them into police, but didn't want them ever getting into the hands of anywhere where they could possibly be used to harm people. I got $50. I got them. So yeah, I've done that before.
Some of my favorite stories are the guys who set up right outside of, right in front of gun buybacks.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, they're offering 50, I'll give you 70.
Yes. Absolutely. They had an ammunition buyback in Wisconsin a few months ago after the explosion in prices. And I'm like, holy cow. I don't care if it's
Right?
I don't care if it's 25 auto. I'll buy it because I know people that I guarantee you I know people that have just about every caliber you can come up with. Don't just get rid of it to destroy it. There's people out there that will use it for good purposes.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, Tom,
One
as
of my
usual,
favorite pictures.
you and I have gone
go ahead.
long. I mean, big shock.
We knew this was a possibility.
Yes, absolutely. Before we go, what have you got that you've written recently that you want to bring people up to date on, or what have you got in the future that you're going to be putting out, and where can they find your stuff?
Okay, well, I've got some stuff coming out at Bearing Arms on the Iowa bill that we talked about earlier. Let me see what else I got. I write a lot of stuff, so hard to narrow some of this stuff down. I've got a story that I wrote this morning about why ghost gun bans are kind of a losing proposition. I think that's an interesting one. That's over at Bearing Arms. I've been really kind of fascinated with ghost gun stuff, I guess you could say.
Okay.
And so it's been really kind of one of the more interesting bits for me to talk about that and to delve into some of that. So, you know, I think that's one of the more interesting stuff going on right now.
Yeah. And everybody, Tom will be on with me on Saturday for the weekly bullet, and I wouldn't be too awful surprised if ghost guns aren't one of the major topics of discussion that we have on Saturday, because boy, have I got some things to say about that. So, Tom, thanks for joining me today, and we'll talk to you Saturday, man.
All right, man. Looking forward to it.
All right, folks, if you wouldn't mind, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on Facebook, please like our page and come join us tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central Time, and we'll have another daily bullet. Come join us Saturday at noon Central Time for the weekly bullet. Everybody, thanks for watching.